In the early 1990s, Rohner Textile, a small Swiss mill specializing in upholstery fabric, was struggling to survive. Squeezed between competition from low-cost, high-quality imports and the increasing demands of government regulation, the future for Rohner's employees was uncertain.
Textile industry, it's a mature industry. It's very difficult to survive. Switzerland, you have high wages, environmental issues, or, we have the Alps, we have rivers, we have lakes.
Rohner's situation was further complicated by a regulatory problem. Swiss inspectors had pronounced the trimmings from the edges of their looms to be hazardous waste.
We saw that we are running into conflict with the law because we wanted to burn the waste here at the mill to save oil, because we wanted to heat up the water we use for dyeing. So it didn't work. So we were in a kind of a dilemma.
They couldn't bury or burn it in Switzerland anymore. They had to ship it to Spain. Now, you realize you've hit the wall of the first industrial revolution when your trimmings are declared hazardous waste, but you can sell what's in the middle.
In New York City, a customer of Rohner was seeking to create a new kind of product. A subsidiary of the Steelcase Corporation, DesignTex is a leading designer and manufacturer of textiles for commercial interiors. Susan Lyons, executive vice president, wanted to create a fabric that was both environmentally friendly and profitable.
Our goal was always to, I was always talking about we have to have a normal product. So it needed to have all of the characteristics that all of our other products have. It needed to have all the performance characteristics that our products have. It needed to have all the aesthetic characteristics that our products have. It needed to be at the right price. And I guess after a couple of years of doing this, certainly not full-time, but trying to gather as much data as we could, we ended up with huge stacks of paper and research and information that ultimately was completely contradictory. And there really wasn't any clear path.
Susan Lyons first became aware of Bill McDonough's ideas from an article in the Wall Street Journal.
Design is the first signal of human intention.
In forums like this one in Detroit, Bill McDonough was proposing a revolutionary approach to product design.
Eliminate the concept of waste. This is not minimize waste. And what you need to understand at the time, the thing that it was just coming out is this idea of factor 4, factor 10 reductions of material flows, that we can become more and more efficient. But if you're doing the wrong thing, it doesn't help us to be efficient. In fact, it might be pernicious.
So we called him. And that basically, that first meeting, the clear path became obvious. And it was just this incredible epiphany where you just thought, oh my God, this is waste equals food. It's so smart, it's so sensible, it seems so logical. And we shook hands and we said, we're going to do this. And I don't know how, we don't know how long it will take, but we're going to do it.
2 weeks later, Susan Lyons arranged for Bill McDonough to fly to Switzerland to meet with one of DesignTex's suppliers.
So suddenly I meet this person in the car, and he says, waste equals food. So, well, if we get that, we have no problems. Because if the products are okay, they are food, can be food, so what do you have to regulate?
In order to make this change, Rohner faced enormous obstacles. Its directors, customers, and especially its suppliers all had to be on board. Could a small mill in Switzerland transform an entire industry?
What really struck me about the whole thing is you're really going into a manufacturing situation, whether it's a spinner or a mill or a dyer or whatever, and saying, we really want you to rethink how you do your business. And, that's not always popular with everyone.
One supplier was critical. The global chemical industry, with over $1.5 trillion in annual sales, supplied the dyes and other chemicals that made modern textiles possible. The change Rohner was proposing required the cooperation of this powerful industry. It was an industry under siege from environmentalists. In Europe, Greenpeace led the opposition to pollution by the big chemical companies. In the 1980s, Greenpeace's campaign against the industry had been initiated by Bill McDonough's partner, the German chemist Dr. Michael Braungart.
I was organizing Greenpeace chemistry campaigns mostly against the chemical industry, because the chemical industry decides about the materials. Yeah, they decide what the other industries can use as materials. And they are only designed in a linear system from cradle to grave, which means that at the end you end up with all these graveyards and you lose all the materials. And if you really want to make a change, you need to use this environmental information to put it into products.
To make the change, they needed to know which of the thousands of chemicals used to dye and prepare the yarns could safely return to soil and water. But the chemical industry considered this information proprietary. Of the 60 companies approached, the most likely partner was the Swiss chemical giant, Ciba-Geigy.
Ciba-Geigy, finally, the middle management could only be convinced to open their books after we got in touch with Sumitomo Chemicals in Japan. This Japanese company just said, oh yes, we would like to open the books and give you the information for that, if we can make money with it. Yeah? Quite pragmatic. Yeah?
They thought, well, it's very risky because, we are disclosing our knowledge. So can we trust these people? Then they said, well, but there is this small little mill. It's as well in Switzerland, so it's the same country. It's a small mill. It's a customer. And then they opened.
The McDonough-Braungart protocol tested the dye chemicals to determine if they caused cancer or other illnesses, birth defects, immune system disruption, soil and water toxicity. Were they safe for human children and the offspring of other species? What they found was that of the 1,600 dyes sold by Ciba, only 16 met the protocol standards. But that was enough. From the beginning of the project, the goal was no compromise on aesthetics or performance. With the 16 dyes, Rohner could make virtually any color and at a competitive price. And because the costs associated with regulation had been eliminated, profits increased. And there were other gains as well: the health and safety of workers and the satisfaction of customers. The water leaving the plant was as clean as when it entered.
We ended up with a protocol which Alvin put into play. And as a result, when the Swiss inspectors came to test the water that used to come out of the factory, now we could turn the pipe around because the water coming out of the factory was as clean as the water going in, which is Swiss drinking water.
Factory trimmings, once declared hazardous waste, were now a profitable byproduct, sold as mulch to local gardeners.
And you end up with this beautiful piece of felt, which is essentially all of the waste byproducts from all of the Climatex fabrics that the mill is weaving.
And after about 6 months, when you put it into the compost heap, it's gone.
It's simple on one level in that it's, when you say waste equals food and you think about what that means, in a way it's wonderfully clear. But making that happen in your daily work is the bigger challenge. And I think that's what's so extraordinary about what Albin's done at Rohner, is that he really has reinvented his mill. I'm very hopeful. I think what this project has really demonstrated is that you can do this. I mean, you can actually develop products in a way that really adds that fourth characteristic. We talked about, quality, performance, price, all of those things. And if you add this fourth characteristic, as Bill calls it, environmental intelligence, that, you can do it.